Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Amber and today I'm going to be sharing with you my weekly reading wrap up for the third week of August. So this week I finished one book and I'm currently reading another. And the book that I finished was Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. This is the first book in the Half-Blood series centering around the Greek gods. And Percy Jackson is an 11-year-old kid who thinks he struggles with ADHD and some other dyslexia, and then one day he finds out that it all is because he is half god, and he goes to this camp where he finds out that he has been accused of stealing the lightning bolt of Zeus, and him, Grover, who is a satyr, and Annabeth, who's also half god, all go on this adventure to try to find out who actually does have the lightning bolt and bring it back to Zeus, who if they don't get it back by a certain time, war will break out between all the gods, and you know, Earth would not survive that. So this book is okay. I liked the writing style and the fact, and really just the sarcastic tone of Percy Jackson, who is telling you the story in an after-fact fashion, and you're hearing him kind of talking about it in, like, as he's telling you the story later on in time, and it's funny in that way. And I really liked how his friendship with Grover and Annabeth grow, although I feel like that could have been developed a little bit more, but as there's 5 books, I figure it's going to develop more as time goes on. I did find myself getting annoyed between Percy and Annabeth, how they seemed to be kind of jerks to one another throughout the book, and I kind of get that because Percy's and Annabeth's parents, that are gods, are kind of butting heads, and they feel this need to, like, kind of defend their parents, although I don't get the point because these parents were never there for them, so like, why would they even care that much? Like, I don't know, it kind of bothered me a little bit that especially Percy was like automatically wanting to be defensive of Poseidon when, you know, what did he ever do for him? But anyways, I did feel like this book became kind of repetitive, and that you could feel the author going through these steps, because each chapter, once they got into the adventure part, you want to call it, it felt like each chapter was just another repetition of the previous one, where like they get to a different city, they meet a different monster or whatever, they get attacked, and then it gets like wash, rinse, repeat throughout those chapters. But I can definitely see why people like this book. It's not a bad book. I really enjoyed the reading experience for the most part. I just think that the author could have done better to make it flow more natural and let the story kind of tell itself without that feeling of him writing a list of what happened, because that's what it kind of felt like those chapters felt like a list of what happened. So I get that you're writing this book targeted towards a younger audience, but even a younger audience, man, like, you know, it's just one of the things. So it gets 3 stars. I'm still on the fence if I'm going to continue on, because I do not want to read books that are written in that style. I've read middle grade before and done a little bit better than this, but it's really good. I can understand why everybody likes it, and that's why it gets 3 stars, because for me it's a neutral thing. It's not bad, but it's not really good for me personally, and I can see both sides of like why it's not that good, but why people love it so much. It's a really good story, and it really, like, it feeds off the imagination. So yeah, that is what I finished this week, and I really did think I was going to finish this other book that I'm reading, because I was reading this pretty fast, and I probably would have if I hadn't decided not to read one day. But it is what it is. And I did kind of start this like more towards the middle of the week, so it's not, it shouldn't be too surprising considering how long each part of this book is. So I am reading Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is like my 5th reread of this, and I, of course, started with the Fellowship of the Ring. I tend to count this as one book because the author wanted Lord of the Rings to be one book, and the editors forced his hand to make it into 3 books because they didn't believe that people would pick up such a big book, which I know that that's not exactly true, but I also can understand where the editors were coming from because of how his writing style is. Sometimes he gets a little bit meandering and everything. I definitely can see why they would say maybe you should, but I also think that they should have respected the author's wishes. So typically I would say I'm reading Lord of the Rings, but this time I'm counting each part as a book because I'm trying to cushion my reading challenge here. I wanted to read 100 books this year, and I was going real strong at the beginning of the year, and then we all know what happened, and I didn't really read much for like 2 months, I feel like, and so that really put a damper on my reading challenge. So I've only read maybe like 35 books, and I don't see myself being able to catch up with it being over halfway through the year. So I'm trying to cushion, I'm trying to get as close to 100 books as I can this year. So I'm going to count each one as a book on itself. So right now I am over halfway through the Fellowship of the Ring. They've just formed the Fellowship, and they are working their way right at this point towards Khazad-dûm, or really the mountains. They haven't chosen to go to Khazad-dûm yet. But I'm really loving this, and what I really love about rereading books is the fact that you catch things that you don't catch before, and it's so great to feel like you're like catching something new, and it's like a whole new experience, especially with something like Lord of the Rings. It's just a great experience. If you have not read Lord of the Rings before and you're on the fence about it because of how he's writing, I would say skip the prologue at least and just jump into the first chapter, because the prologue is dry, it's unnecessary to really the book. It's more like an appendix thing where like it's something that you would go to when you finish the book. It's really not necessary to the main plot of this book. So just skip the prologue, go to the first chapter, because especially if you've read the Hobbit, it'll be like a good like entry to the main plot of this book, because you're reintroduced back to Bilbo and it's more centered on him for the first chapter, and it has the same kind of like tone that the Hobbit has. But really I recommend reading the Hobbit first because it gives you a lot more background and an understanding of how the ring got to Bilbo. So I always recommend reading the Hobbit first. But yeah, I didn't start with the Hobbit this time because I reread the Hobbit before I just wanted to read Lord of the Rings. But yeah, like I said, there's that. I am also actually reading this in ebook form because this poor book is completely damaged. Like, I'm so scared that if I continue to read it with this one, it would be split in half, literally, and I do not want that to happen. So I'm thinking of investing in these books individually, maybe getting them from a different store, because I tried to get a physical book from Amazon and it never came. It should have come if it was going to come by now, I would feel. So I'm a little bit nervous buying books from Amazon right now, and I can understand why. There's a lot of craziness going on with the pandemic, and it's not forefront on their list to undermine, but I know, you know. So I might try to invest in this again through another store and see what happens there. But for now, ebook format. I would really love those one editions. So beautiful. But anyways, that is all I've read this week. Also, I did mention in my previous video that I was going to try The Eye of the World. I decided not to pick this up for two main reasons. One, the physical book that I have, pages are falling out and we're about to fall out, and this is a library book, and I was not about to be blamed for pages falling out of this book that was already damaged when it came to me. So I was looking to see if maybe I could get it for free somewhere, you know, because there are several resources I have to get for it, and sadly they didn't have it for free. And also I was looking at some reviews. They're talking about how it's like a ripoff of the characters of Lord of the Rings, which is why I picked up Lord of the Rings, because it got me to wanting to read it. But it's still kind of on the fence for me if that is enough of a reason to not, because I know other books have been inspired off of Lord of the Rings. One of my favorite series has several elements that are inspired, but the fact that it's like a ripoff of characters, I mean, I feel like I need to read it to like know for sure if I agree with that sentiment or not. But there's several reviewers that said the same thing basically, so it made me a little bit more nervous, especially because this is a 14 long book series. I really don't want to invest my time in that way if it's just gonna be like a ripoff of Lord of the Rings. Like, I don't really care. I can just read Lord of the Rings, and you know. So there's that. Then I have 2 books coming from the library that I need to pick up this week. One of them I'm probably not going to read, so I'm just not going to talk about it. But the second one, I don't have the name of the book right now. I can't remember the exact name, but it centers around women spies during World War II, and I really love that idea of really bringing. It's nonfiction, by the way, and I just love that. I love the fact that we are getting more information about women fighters. We need more. Women need more recognition, and I know that it's not going to cover as much as I would love, because there is so many more aspects centered around spies that were women who sacrificed life and limb for the cause. So I'm very much excited to read this book, and that will be happening as soon as I get it. So yes, that is all I have to talk about today. I would love to hear from y'all what you've been reading, and thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.